Maralyn looked out at emptiness. There was little to see except the water shifting from black to blue as the sun rose. A clear sky, the ocean and themselves, a small boat sailing west. At 7 o'clock, Maralyn left her watch on deck and went down to the cabin. Maurice was still sleeping in his bunk, stirring a little. The morning would follow the certain rhythms of every other morning coffee and breakfast. Then all the other checks and jobs a boat requires, a formula so practiced after months at sea that it had become as automatic as time. Marilyn and Maurice, a boat, the endless ocean, and a journey that will test everything. This is a marriage at sea. I'm Zan, konnichiwa, aloha, buongiorno, and what's up? And welcome to another episode of the Spiraken Book Club, the show where we talk about various books and analyze them a little bit. And this is episode 35 of our Project 45 by 45, where I read 45 books before I hit my 45th birthday. And we are 13 weeks out. We have 10 left. So I'm really excited about that. But let's get to it because this is one which is kind of perplexing to me. It's different in a weird way, but it's connected to the last couple books we talked about because two episodes ago we talked about The Troop by Nick Cutter, which was a story about a man who escapes on a boat to an island and then causes horrible problems because he was infected by a horrible disease, pretty much the thing, mixed with Lord of the Flies. Then last episode we talked about The Count of Monte Cristo, about a sailor who is betrayed by three people and gets money to get revenge. A wonderfully written story that is a unique fiction and one of the most iconic stories of all time. This, on the other hand, the book we're talking about today is one that was based off of a nonfiction memoir, namely 117 Days Adrift, written by Maurice and Marilyn Bailey. And this was written all the way back in, I think it was 78, 76. I don't have the exact date. But the book in question is a reanalyzation of that story, plus several interviews and some other elements to create a nonfiction narrative that analyzes their relationship in general. And this is written by Sophie Elmhirst, a writer who has been for The Economist, The Guardian, is well regarded as an amazing journalist. And this was well researched, but something about it was off. So let's get to it as I talk about A Marriage at Sea, a true story of love, obsession, and denial by Sophie Elmhirst. This was written in 2024, 2 years ago, and this was New York Times, one of the best books of 2025, allegedly. And it's a story that it seems too good to be true. It's about a young couple, Maurice and Marilyn, two people who fell in love, get married, and after a bit of time, they decide they want to get rid of all their stuff, get on a boat, and travel the world, which goes well until a certain day, March 4th, 1973, when an incident occurs because of nature. Their boat sinks, and they are stuck on a dinghy and a raft connected together by some rope with some provisions, and they have to survive for 117 days till they come back. It's a story of them dealing with loss, survival, obsession, and the aftermath. What happens when you're rescued after an incident like this? How do you deal with it? And this focuses on that. There's several pages after page 126 which deal with them acclimating with humanity again, with civilization, their unsmoothed edges at this point, and then there's a huge time jump till the 2000s when we're at the end of their lives and what's going on. And this should be a home run, a unique story that's based on a true harrowing experience, but it's not. Maurice and Marilyn are two characters that you can see as either truly despicable or people that you just can't relate to because of their unique elements about them. Because you have one who is the constantly needs to have a minder behind them, and the other one who is has to be a caregiver. And they found each other, and they do love each other. It's more like Marilyn is in love with Maurice, and Maurice uh, is affectionate, has affection towards Marilyn, but it's more of a self-serving reason. It's the reason why is she's the one that's going to fix my mistakes because I'm perfect, but other people don't understand, so she'll smooth me out. And Maurice is kind of a despicable character. He's not evil, he's not bad. He's frustrating. Maybe it's because they're potentially both neurodivergent. We're not entirely sure, but it is stressful. It really is. Reading as they go along, at one point, you pretty much want him to unalive himself, but without him, Maralyn wouldn't survive. And Maralyn is the glue that's holding this together. She is the person who is holding it all together. She's the optimistic one. She's the one that's trying to keep them regulated, keep them organized. Let's do these little rituals, these little things. Let's keep the dates so that we know what's going on. We can't be sad. Meanwhile, Maurice is like, I don't have control anymore. I don't know what to do. I'm just done. I'm going to sit here and lie down. I'm sad. You take care of it. But then when Maurice is in control, I am the god of the ship. Follow me or you will perish. Yeah. It's a little frustrating reading about Maurice. If this is how he really was, I could see why many people don't like it. I don't know. It's a little difficult. People have called this book enthralling and engaging, and a former president raved about this as one of his favorite nonfiction books. It's being taught and propulsive and dazzling. No. The first part is engaging, especially when we're learning about their courtship and how Maurice and Maralyn got together. Her being the girl that was like, her mom and dad wanted a typical life for her, and she wanted more. And Maurice, who's seeing flaws in everything, hates everything, nothing except the girl that he meets. And then she brings out more of a positive nature to him. She roughs out his edges. She makes him more of a likable person. And they find uh, help with each other. They're two pieces of a jigsaw puzzle that fit, which is fine. And then Maurice is like, you know what? I don't like this. I'm going to move away. I'm going to go away. And because Maralyn is pretty much, I don't want to live a traditional wife life. I don't want to be stuck at home cooking and cleaning. She goes for this. And they make these huge plans. They make this boat that is wondrous and is going to be their home. Their home because they don't have a home. They sell everything. It's a very brave thing to do. I couldn't do it, but they do it. And they go out to the ocean. And they're good for a bit. And then when they decide to go to Galapagos Islands, the tragedy strikes. What is a tragedy? Well, I don't want to spoil it. However, it's a element of nature that we can't control, and because of that, leads to them having lots of problems. Because Maurice's "I can do no wrong, I know what I'm doing" makes things worse, and they're trying to survive. And it's Maralyn who has to keep pushing on. Like he's like, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're going the wrong way. Well, why don't we row? Well, we're gonna sunburn. We can row at night, take shifts. Oh no, it's not gonna work. And just it's just a frustrating situation. And it's a little envious because you love reading their optimism when they're optimistic, and then when they're down, and you do not want to be there. And Maurice does love Maralyn, and we see that throughout the book. But just it feels so underappreciated. And like her cousin said, Maralyn could get anybody. She could do better than this guy. And they really were married. They're an actual couple. This is a nonfiction, like I said. They really were married. And they dealt with this. And then later on, something else happened. And then it just pretty much ends in a way which is totally unsatisfying. The third act is just depressing as anything. It's when the person who needs a caregiver loses the caregiver, what happens? They become destructive, they become despondent, they become aggressive. Yeah, they see a shrink, but they're unliked. No one likes them. It's like the only reason why people deal with them is because for tradition, that's about it. I want to go more into it, but I can't because one, it's a new book, and two, this is a book that's essentially a retelling, a discussion of the book 117 Days Adrift. They just kind of dramatized it. It's here's the Sunday night special movie production of this book. We've added some parts to make it more dramatic. Is it well researched? I'm pretty sure it is. There's a lot of guessing about elements and thought processes, especially after they're saved and they're paraded around as this heroic couple, and showing how Maurice hates everything and how Maralyn is being stressed out by all these confrontations. You should have this great moment of them trying to reintegrate into society, but they don't. It doesn't get into it. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, they went a couple of meetings, they saw this, they stayed here, they really enjoyed this, but we're not sure if they like this part. And they were getting frustrated. They wanted to be back on their boat. Their boat was gone though, and they made friends with people who were in Seoul. They're not allowed to go here though. But then, yeah, I was not a fan of this. I really wasn't. I tried. I read the whole story. It is a short read, but honestly, no. And I know it might seem like a very elementary examination of this book. However, I it's just one of those ones where I was like, it's not a great book. I don't like either of the main characters. The premise could have been great. Could have been amazing. Them being lost at sea in their journal, but it just felt off. I do like a couple of the elements involving what happened afterwards and during, like them describing some of the things that they saw, the fact that for some reason Maralyn always wanted to pet and stroke sharks. I'm like, why did they not bite her hand? Or when they kill a bunch of sharks, then there's blood everywhere. How the sharks don't destroy their boat? Kind of weird why that happened, but who knows? But that part was fascinating. Also, the real fact that they became vegetarians after the trip. However, in one point, I could have sworn I read that they ate meat afterwards. Oh yeah, after they were done with their rescue, they never ate meat again. But then in one of the cities, I thought they ate meat or something, which kind of contradicts itself. There's some continuity errors, which is weird. But again, I'm not sure. I know that Sophie Elmhirst did her best. She wrote it and she did what she could with it. And her prose are amazing. Her prose are very exceptional. It reads fast. It's just I wasn't a huge fan of it. And after going back and forth a bit, I have to give this, fortunately, a. It's technically a book, but there are better. What should have been a gripping survival tale becomes a repetitive, character destroying ordeal, best left to the original account. The series is just. It makes you hate these characters so much. So many moments where you want to hate them. And then when you start liking them again, they do something that's just like, what, really? You're going to do this? Maurice is so unlikable. Maralyn is just a constant victim, and there's some things she does that are head scratching. And they probably are a neurodivergent couple, and there's some elements which you, if you're not neurodivergent, you're not going to get. However, I mean, I could be totally wrong because it is a story about this love story that should be the main focus. It doesn't feel like it's the main focus. It feels like this is three different stories that have been crammed together, and it doesn't flow well. Now, if you've read this and you agree with me or disagree with me, let me know. Email me, zansparkin.com, tweet me at Sparkin. Let me know your thoughts. If you thought this was one of the top 10 books of 2025 or not. If this was worth reading. If you've read A Marriage at Sea. Let me know. And for book number 36, we've got a oldie but goldie. I'm going to be going to some spycraft again with one of the most awesome spies of all time. Yes, we're talking about Ian Fleming. I'm going to be doing Casino Royale next. Hopefully that will be a little bit more uplifting than this. We're going to find out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. As usual, I'm your host, Zan. I am Gonzville. Oh, before I forget that, remember, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, and click on that bell for notification for any of these new episodes. And with that in mind, as usual, I'm your host, Zan. I'm Gonzville. I'll catch you guys next time. And as always, keep reading books. I'll see you later.